The poor can teach us, but the only way we can learn is to listen. To truly hear what they have to say, Washington State bishops held listening sessions to hear the cry of the poor.
A lot of people judge thinking, that we're out there just to get a free ride. And it's not true.
I didn't want to be homeless. I didn't want to go to a shelter, but it was the best thing for me.
I slept in my car for like 3 months.
These are human faces of just thousands of stories.
From a senior citizen raising her grandchildren to a migrant family working the fields, the bishops listened to the voice of poverty and examined the question, who is my neighbor?
It first starts with realizing that you're the neighbor.
Located in eastern Washington, Spokane is known as an all-America city. But like many cities, the invisible poor live in plain sight.
We see the face of poverty and hear the cry of poverty every day at Catholic Charities. We serve over 77,000 people a year, different people, and all of them come to us with a struggle. The things that cause poverty in our community in Spokane most often are one of three things. First is untreated or undertreated mental health concerns. Second is untreated or undertreated substance abuse issues. And third is adverse childhood experiences, something that happens to a child between birth and age 5 that should never happen to any child.
Additional causes can be lack of education, immigration status, racism, and no affordable housing.
How you could have everything and lose it in one day.
Matthew is homeless. He struggles with mental and physical disabilities.
What I think people can learn is that don't judge a book by its cover. Get to know somebody before you judge them.
2 sugars. 2 sugars. Serving coffee to them, you get to know them over a period of time. You get to know their stories, their names, whether they want 1 spoonful of sugar or no sugar, or just a cup of tea. They really are God's people, brothers and sisters in Christ who've had struggles in their life.
Most of these guys, if they don't have a bed tonight, they end up sleeping on the street. I think the biggest thing I've learned is that homelessness is not a choice.
Those living in poverty need shelter for a variety of reasons. And after surgery or a serious illness, they often need a bridge between the hospital and the street.
This truly has humbled me, and I'll never be the same person.
Ali lost his health, his job, his insurance, and finally his home. As he recovers from surgery, he's one of the fortunate few to have respite.
They've done a lot for me. I can do better, and that I can be a standing voice and help others and help them with their situation.
The rate of poverty is rising across the state and across all age groups. The statistics are startling as more people fall below the poverty line. Among those hardest hit, women and children.
About 6 months ago, I was working and I had a really good job, actually. It was a really good paying job, and then I lost it. Unless you have a really good backup plan, you are easily 1 paycheck away from living on the streets.
I feel like bad things could happen to anybody. Nothing makes you completely immune to it.
Brianne is on disability and had no home for her children.
A lot of times people are alone without anybody.
About 200 miles from Spokane is Yakima, a place where agriculture and poverty are deeply rooted.
Central Washington is a place where we have a lot of poverty. We have many folks that are struggling just to make ends meet from paycheck to paycheck. We have families that need affordable housing. We have families that, because they're in rural places, they don't have a lot of other resources.
About 20% of Yakima's population lives below the poverty line, a reality reflected in education.
We're in a part of the state that has the lowest kindergarten readiness. We have some of the lowest graduation rates in the state, much because of poverty.
Lack of education, addiction, and crime contribute to intergenerational poverty, and children often grow up without their parents.
I worried about not having a roof over our head, and what I was going to do for the next meal. You know, and I think about it now, and that's, wow, the same things that I worry about now.
Linda's rearing her grandchildren while her son is in prison. When her children were growing up, Linda had her own struggle with homelessness and addiction.
I would go and clean houses, or I'd dumpster dive, you know, for what I needed. When I remember back in the day, the kids all thought that they were so cool because they had name brands. I'd go to the Goodwill and take off labels and put them on my kids' stuff just so that they thought they had that name brand, you know?
Because she knows what it is to be poor, Linda's teaching her grandchildren how to be compassionate.
Not to be that person to judge because they don't have nice shoes on. I don't want them to judge other children because they don't have something nice.
Linda won her battle with drugs 20 years ago, but now she faces a bigger battle, stage 4 kidney cancer.
God isn't done with me yet. You know, I've been through so much, and I have a purpose, and if it's to raise my grandchildren. In my heart, of all hearts, it's God that tells me to make sure that they're just loved.
Because the Yakima Valley is agriculturally based, many people come from other countries in search of jobs and a better life. People like Sylvia.
Muy difícil.
It was really difficult to work in the fields.
Cargando cosas pesadas.
Sylvia left Mexico when she was only 16.
Yo recuerdo
I remember many days of being under the sun with very high temperatures. And they would make us work more hours than they should have.
Sintiéndose uno mareado.
And you're feeling dizzy, thirsty, wanting to rest and not being able to.
Today, Sylvia is on a path to citizenship and getting her education. She has affordable housing and a future for her children.
Pues creo que lo que cualquier madre.
I think that I want what every mother wants for their children, that they be prepared, that they go to school, that they rise above our situation.
Pues nuestra esperanza es tener.
Our hope is to have a better future, a better school for our children.
Nancy and her husband, who is a farm worker, are undocumented. They work hard, but live in fear.
Porque me da miedo que nos
I'm afraid they'll come and take us away, but our children will stay here.
What does that feel like every day?
Triste.
It makes me very sad.
A parish volunteer helps the family with their children. One of them was born with serious health issues.
She was born with a lot of problems, joints and legs, and also she has a hole in her heart.
Que si estuviera yo en Mexico.
If I had been in Mexico, the 3 triplets would not have made it.
People who are very poor or who are dying or who are suffering from sickness are coming up against the basic realities of life, of existence. And so we can learn from them what really matters, what's really important. And that usually turns out to be love.
Charity that does not change the situation of the poor isn't enough. We are committed to that Christ-like relationship to the poor. In order for a person to be in a position or a place where they can begin to accept healing or seek healing, they need to be first secure and safe. A safe, decent place to live, adequate health care, adequate food, adequate medical attention. These things are all deeply rooted in the Catholic way of thinking about basic human rights.
Catholic people and parishes hold life as sacred. It's at the core of Catholic Charities, Catholic Community Services, St. Vincent de Paul, Mercy Housing, and parish-based outreach across the state. Lack of housing deprives people of a basic human need.
The nature of poverty continues to be reflective of the divisions in our society based on race and class, education and background. We see also poverty continuing to hit young people, children, families in a disproportionate way among all racial groups.
I work with the Black community who are homeless or at risk of being homeless, who are represented disproportionately among the poor and the working poor, and how could we change that reality?
Really thinking about the next person, the next family that comes through. I was homeless, not in a sense of living under a bridge, but not having my own stability with a young child, sleeping house to house on couches.
Affordable housing gave Kendra stability, an education, and a career.
I'm working in fund development with Catholic Community Services as a recipient of the services long before now being an employee there. I know that it works. Hope, it starts with Christ.
The homeless population is incredibly vulnerable.
Located in Linwood, this low-income housing is one of very few places for homeless vets.
These are folks that have dedicated a portion of their life to the service of our country. And how important is that we recognize that? The thing is the folks that live here, they're just regular people. They really are.
Like Jerry, who once had a life and a job before he lost it all.
Before I got here, I was in a campsite that was fairly camouflaged, and it was like hiding in plain sight beside the freeway. After I got here, about a week or so after I got here, it's like, oh, I could finally sleep. What a load off our backs, what a load off my mind. I got a place to stay. There's a lot of need.
Well, I think in this area, the face of poverty is very much evident in the lack of affordable housing.
Mount Vernon, located in the Skagit Valley, is known more for tulips than poverty. That's because undocumented farm workers live in the shadows.
The farm worker community here, they're very invisible. We all want to pay lower prices for our vegetables that we buy, but we don't see the person out there in the field picking the blackberries or picking the strawberries or the vegetables.
For many immigrant families, the needs are desperate and full of hard choices.
Do I have to buy diapers or do I have to go and eat? They didn't have no clothing, no diapers, and the Parish help a lot. Immaculate Conception help us with the food and the clothing.
Gia is part of a parish-based outreach called Prepares, an initiative created as a call to action by Washington state bishops.
We take parishes, we have parish coordinators that go in, they find volunteers who are willing to walk with these parents, whether that be to offer urgent needs, diapers, clothing, or be mentors.
And I think if we can just take our gifts that God gave us and take the gifts from the mom that we're supporting, we can't help but be richer people.
In support of life and justice, the bishops want Catholic parishes to participate in solutions toward ending poverty.
We want the 300 Catholic parishes across the state to be open for families to walk in and say, I need help.
It touches me deeply to be around people who are struggling, and it makes me aware of sort of the depth of the importance of community.
To see the face and hear the voice of poverty is to recognize our shared humanity, not only as neighbors, but as brothers and sisters in Christ. Our call to action is to witness their struggles and be willing to walk the journey with them.
If we don't have compassion, then we don't know what the other person that has less than us is going through.
They want to be seen, they want it to be acknowledged, they want it to be accepted as a person of value.
I want to spend my life helping others, volunteering. You know, I've been both sides.
And seeing the person underneath the clothes that may be dirty because they've been living on the street is a person that had the same hopes and dreams that you and I have.
Just being able to acknowledge people. I acknowledge you. You know, you are still a living being here on the earth. I'm not gonna overlook your presence just because you don't look like me, or you might not have the same aroma as me, or we don't have anything in common, or I don't necessarily have to. It's just being able to say, I see you.
When Jesus asked the scholar of the law who was neighbor to the robber's victim, the scholar answered, the one who treated him with mercy. Jesus said, go and do likewise.